Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blank Gates. Welcome back to another series, another playlist, another chance for fun. Where are we now? So the last little project that I was working on, it was interesting. Um, it was big, and there were so many elements that I didn't know how to manage control. The project was just simply too big. So where am I now? My general opinion about business is that we have two things as designers. We need to design the product, and then we need to design the invitation for people to use that product. And so I feel like I have the MVP ready. If you look here on the this side of the screen, you can see this concept called a performance booster. All right, so the MVP, the minimal viable product that I'm creating is going to have some concept that revolves around this concept of performance or boosting performance. And you can see on the left hand side in the first row that it says learn about elements of performance. And then on the right hand side, you can see begin working with the performance booster. So it's a very simple, there's a learning area and there is a doing area. So on the left-hand side, you can see things like level of effort, level of success, and level of efficiency. Maybe I could point that. So we get the level of effort, level of success, and level of efficiency. On the right-hand side, which I cannot reach to, is the current levels of performance, the force field analysis, and the desired levels of performance. All right, so after having, like I mentioned in the previous post, if you're in the LinkedIn group, I have a Space Between Ideas LinkedIn group. I also have a Space Between Ideas Instagram, which I haven't used for a really long time. I also have a WordPress blog. And like when you get to the point where it's like, I've designed a product. So now I got the feeling like, okay, so now I need to bring all of these things together because it's no longer what I was focused on in the past, which was like, how do I do this? Where am I going? What's happening? What do I do? Like I really had a hard time putting this thing together. It's literally taken me 9 years of reading Tom's book, Space Between Ideas. No, Tom's book isn't Space Between Ideas. Tom's book is Create Crucial Insight. So literally 9 years ago, I was in Palo Alto and I was living up on Sharon Park Drive. I went to an event and I met Tom Buchholz, and he gave me this physical copy of his book. And as you can see, I've spent some time reading it and using it. Now, of course, I use the digital copy now, and I've also created lots of tools around helping people understand and use the concepts that Tom presents in his book. And through those interviews, through coaching, through talking to over 100 people over the last 5 years, I've created this here, Performance Booster. Now, the issue now, so what is this playlist going to be about? This playlist is going to be about what? So we're going to talk about this MVP. I think we're going to talk about Bubble because I spent a lot of time learning Bubble and some of the struggles there. We're going to talk about object-oriented programming. We're going to talk about ChatGPT. We are going to be talking about the structure of prompts for ChatGPT. We're going to talk about the back end. We're probably going to have to also eventually start talking about what. So you have your MVP, and then what? So why? Where does the MVP take you? What is the learning process? As you can see down here, it says a deeper educational experience, perhaps unlock this material somehow, pay model, referrals, etc. So so how does this model how do I actually get paid? And then what is the user experience? So you can see that there are a couple of factors related to how to understand each of these ideas. So in this YouTube series, we're going to go from this MVP concept to a fully functional and What? What's going on? How come I have more than 5 minutes? All right. Well, sometimes they give me more than 5 minutes. I don't know why. We're going to go from a fully functional. No, we're going to go from this MVP to a fully functional website, like a web application. This is it. Like it begins now. Now, since I have a little more time, let's assume that we got 10 minutes. If we don't, I'll make another video. So the thing is that there are basically three things that have come together in my life right now to enable this process to begin and to really get off on the right step. So what happened to me in Cape Town? So over the last 5 months, I left my little apartment here in Georgia, and I went on a trip around Africa. So basically, it was November, and it's starting to get cold here in Georgia. As you can see, I live right next to these mountains here. There's like some snow in the mountains right now. Out like my upstairs neighbor, they like to hang their laundry, but I got this little river next to my apartment, and it was getting colder, and I just didn't want to be here anymore. So I decided to go to Africa, and I flew to Egypt. I was in Cairo and then Alexandria, and once I got into the water, like the Mediterranean Sea, this is like the northern tip of Africa. I just decided, okay, so I'm going to do a trip from Alexandria, Egypt to Cape Town, South Africa. So I flew to Nairobi, and that's where I picked up this bicycle. So I ended up riding this bike through Nairobi, Kisumu. I got to Uganda, Kampala. I went to Rwanda, so Kigali. From there, I flew to Cape Town, and actually, I was able to take the bike with me to Cape Town. So that was insane. So I rode the bike all around South Africa. And the experience that really, see, the thing is, I talked to a lot of the coaching students that I had. I continued to coach online. And I was just telling them, because they're like, why did you go to Africa? And I kept saying, like, there's just like, I'm just trying to wake myself up, because I've been working on this project for so many years. And there's just like, I need to push myself to the next level. I'm really just trying to like, wake up, like, come on, let's do it. Well, the last experience that I had as I left Cape Town, as I was riding my bike with my backpack on my back, I was getting to the airport. And I ended up like crashing. So the front wheel, it fell into this hole, like a manhole, like a smaller manhole. The cover was missing. My bike, it went up and then almost flipped over and then fell on the side. Like I still got some of the scars. And as I was starting to get up there, I felt this hand going into my pocket. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to get robbed. So I start to push the bicycle up, and then so there are two guys, and one guy, he grabs the bike and he starts to try to get away. I take one step toward him and boom, I punched him right in the cheekbone. I hit him right with my middle knuckle. And the thing is, I've been punching this wall. Like, you don't even know how many times I punched this wall. So this is where I do my exercise. So I got my yoga mat down here, where I do sit-ups and push-ups and things. And this wall, you can see my spices in my kitchen. And like literally this wall is like how many times have I punched this solid brick wall? I punched this so many times. And so when this guy came, he wanted to take my bike, boom, game over. So the other guy who was opening my bag at the time, he saw that his friend got punched. And so he stood up, pulled out a knife. Well, most people are scared to use a knife. They're not trained to use the knife. So the thing is that like this is the Jordan Peterson, our Canadian hero, Jordan Peterson. This is the lobster lesson. So when you win the battle, suddenly the serotonin boost, and I was able to, like, the brain and the emotion was able to reinterpret all of the failures, all of the weaknesses, all of the struggles, all of the things that I've done in the past, all of the failures, all of the things that were holding me down. And suddenly I was just full of serotonin. And now it's a new world. looks like we got more than 10 minutes. All right, let's shoot for 15. All right, so that's the number one thing is like, I had this life-changing experience in Africa where I was able to see all of these young men who were begging and asking me for money. And I kept explaining like, hey, why don't you ask 10 people what they do for work and then like get some mentorship? Maybe they can help you. Maybe they can give you a job. I can't help you. I can't do anything for you. This is like, I'm not going to be here. I'm a tourist and I'm certainly not going to give you money. But the thing is, like, it kept going through my own head. Like, oh, I'm like exactly like this person. This is like, there's no difference between this young man and myself. And so I was working with these ideas like over and over and over. And then anyway, so it ends up, that was Africa. Number two, with all these to over 2,000 hours of coaching and interviewing and working with people, I've been able to develop this little process, and I'm in the process of testing, and I'd like to turn this into a software environment. Now, the issue, of course, is that I don't have any real like training on software, and I've had some problems. All right. So, but now, so factor number two here. So, like now, I have a basic design. Like if we look at the elements of effort, we can look at it from a very simple process of, is it boring or motivating? We can go into the metrics, and we can also talk about strategies from moving from laid back to diligent. So it allows us to see this concept of level of effort from a few different perspectives. The level of success also, is it difficult or simple? And then here are some metrics. And then what are some strategies to help people move from trailing to leading? Finally, level of efficiency. So how well have we created a process? And then, of course, here's the three metrics. And here's a question. So what are the work styles people use as they create and optimize processes? Now, with that knowledge, I feel like this education experience is very important. These are very basic questions. Now, when I coach people, I have a deeper educational experience where I'm going to connect them to more concepts that come from Create Crucial Insight, also concepts that come from psychology, also concepts that come from other business coaching and management tools. And I put those all together in the next level so that people can get a deeper educational experience. If they like the app, so it's easy for someone to go through this very simple process. Okay, so, all right. So for example, this morning, a lady was talking about that she has some English words that she wants to practice and learn. Using flashcards. Okay, so how boring or motivating is this process of creating flashcards and then studying it? How difficult or simple? Now, of course, there's some methodologies around this. So if it's boring and difficult, then what do you need? If it's boring and simple, then what do you need? If it's motivating and difficult, then what do you need? If it's motivating and simple, then what do you need? So in those four different situations, you're going to have a slightly different strategy for moving forward. And this right now, this is kind of my concept for the free version. And so anyone has access to these simple questions, these simple ideas, and they'll be able to then think about the process that they're now using. Are they creating a process? Because obviously a process is going to change the difficulty level, and a process can also change if it's boring or motivating. And so how do you create and optimize processes? So there you go. And I have more tools around that. So also, Tom, he has a unit called State Styles, and it explains the exact 6 different types of work styles that people use. And so when you use these models, 6 different work styles, and then, okay, so we're using this work style. Therefore, we need to think about these issues. And then also, well, what is our level of effort? What is our level of success? You put those things together, and suddenly it's very clear your current levels of performance. And at this point, we turn it into a numerical value. Now, for those who are familiar about force field analysis, maybe I can just take a quick, maybe I can't. Okay, so force field analysis, we're talking about what? So describe the driving forces to a desired state and the resisting forces supporting the current state. And finally, We got through 15 minutes. All right, let's. I think we can wrap it up at the 20-minute mark. So finally, we're at the end, which is the desired levels of performance. All right. So now what you're going to do is what? So after you have these current levels of performance, like you put in a number, what is our level of effort? What is our level of success? What is our level of, well, I'm going to have to make some slight revisions with this. What's our level of efficiency? Then we discuss, okay, so what are the forces that are driving us to move to a desired level of performance? And what are the resisting forces that are supporting the current state? And so in this brainstorming activity, you really are able to pull out all the factors with all these different types of questions that are basically asking the same thing over and over and over and over again, but in enough ways that you, especially if you're able to work with another person, you'll be able to fill in, like you'll have a bucket, a brainstorming bucket, and then you'll be able to express your desired levels of performance. For example, what kind of, do we want to have an optimized process? Are we optimizing the process? And what are we going to have to do to optimize that process? Also, like, okay, so how are we going to change the difficulty or simplicity of the task? How are we going to affect these metrics? And what is the level of effort? So how can we affect these metrics? Okay. And what are the forces that surround those things? So this app about Performance Booster will give somebody a very clear framework to understand the most important elements that are connected with a person's performance. It will help them understand the forces of why they can't go forward, or how to go forward, or why do they feel resistance, and what is driving them. And then to create some goals. Now, at this point, all of this, I mean, I can show you the MVP simply because this is going to be free in the app anyways. And then, but this is only the surface level. So this is what you can do on your own. You could do any of these things on your own before. You don't actually need this process for you to think about some, like, how can we improve? This just helps you to put all of your ideas into little boxes. And so you can see where we're missing some ideas, where we can improve ideas, where we can develop ideas. And then in a deeper educational experience, then we will be able to provide you with a deeper and immersive experience, talking about, so in science and in business and in psychology, like what are the leading theories in these different areas? And those things will then help you to make even more pinpointed and simplistic and targeted plans and ideas and discussions on how to really improve your performance. So welcome to the journey. Now, the third element of these three things that have come together. So we had the serotonin boost from Africa. Now we have the MVP. And also this thing we call Chat GPT. So, I was having a tough time with Bubble, because what happens when you're using Bubble is you follow a tutorial, and then I would run into some kind of problem. And maybe the person who was creating the tutorial, they've made some kind of change within their software infrastructure. And I didn't make that change. I don't know how to make that change. They didn't talk about making that change. And so I would run into an obstacle and then I would quit. But now with ChatGPT, it's like, I was able to actually make a little website. It sent me the code. Like, it helped me to start using the terminal. Like, I mean, if you look at the, I wonder if I can show you. Almost. Yeah, I can. All right. So it talked about, like, all right. So it helped me to download Visual Studio Code. It helped me to get the Microsoft Edge. It helped me to get the Python launcher. Helped me to get this idle. I mean, it's amazing. So it has, like, it helped me to do all of these things. And then I started testing the code in the terminal. And these are things that I've never done before. I had no idea what this process is all about. But I was able to actually make a little web application. So what? Suddenly I'm able to what? So I have the emotional environment to succeed. I have the intellectual MVP environment to succeed. And now I have the tools to succeed. So come with me with this process, and let's improve our performance and Well, I guess we're back to Tom, right? Let's think well and do great.